And roughly 2 years ago, I got the question, Helen, do you want to build an app factory? A word, app factory, easy. Doing simple things is a factory, and we know it's not easy to do mobile enterprise apps. So, uh, uh, we try not to use the word more. And what is when I got the question? Yeah, answer was of course yes, of course I want to lead this department. And I also realized they expect us to have after 3 months. I was coming from a true waterfall world where we did first analyze for months and months and months. And then we started to develop, and after 1 year, we had the product ready, ready in 3 months. And I realized I have to do everything totally different. So this was what I came to do, everything differently. And what expect me to do, if we look at what we have achieved these 2 years when we have had the app department, is that we have developed 8 apps which are in production. We talk about enterprise applications connected and integrated with our backend system, normally SAP. That are floating security throughout the landscape from the app to a cloud platform and to our backend systems. And we have managed in 2 years, which is quite incredible, to develop 8 apps used by thousands of people inside Tetra Pak and used by customers and managed to do. And I'm going to tell you how. And what we did establish was a mobility center of excellence and a mobility center of excellence. Helen, can you please build up a mobility center of excellence? I mean, if you Google, you won't get any replies, will you? And what we realized after some, let's say, 5 we sat down, me and the smart people that work with me, which are the main capabilities to manage these. And the 5 main capabilities that we work with every day. On the top left corner, design thinking. That's the reason why we are here today, to drive innovation through design thinking. So we're using frameworks like Lean UX and Design Sprint to determine what does the users need, what do they want, why do they want it, and what works in reality. Work a lot with world. The phone is very small. Have to make sure that the interface is maximized, easy to use, intuitive. We need to have users that love the answer. Because what we realized is that, you know, if we, what do you compare? I will compare it to Microsoft Outlook, Word, Excel, SAP, and if I have an enterprise app on my phone, what will I compare to? In my case, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Google Maps. Totally different. These apps that people love, we need to have world-class user experience. So what we have done in our team is that we have brought in graphical designers, UX, UI designers, and I'm extremely happy to our local partners in Malmö. They can provide us with top-notch when it comes to UX designers. And I know we have several of our partners present here today, and they are good. The designers will support Tetra Pak in this user interface. The third capability where we put a lot of efforts is to build high-performing agile teams. We use Scrum as a development framework, and to build a high-performing team, I mean, when you read it, easily said, very, very do. So what we do is that we have not only a Scrum Master leading the teams, we are also bringing in agile coaches. So our Scrum Masters are also agile coaches. They are able to transform not only the people we bring in, but also the steering groups and the people we have around us. Because in the company, we're still in transformation from waterfall to agile. And to do that, it requires senior competence when it comes to change and understanding how to use the Scrum framework and what needs to change. We use a lot of studies from Susan Whelan when we build our high-performing teams. And she has shown in her studies that the decent Scrum Master improves productivity with 30% for each individual in the team. So that means, if we do our math, that if you have a team of 3, you have the Scrum Master for free. That's quite impressive and interesting, isn't it? So we put a lot of effort building the high-performing agile teams. The fourth one is IT and architecture. Of course, we need to be good at the techie stuff. We are building a digital product, a mobile app. Of course, we need to understand what technology to be used. And if I would have been a normal IT person, I would have digged into this deeper and deeper and deeper. But I realize if we want to build world-class apps, we need all of these 5 capabilities, and they are equally important. The last one is lean frameworks, because we need a pace that people can't imagine. Because if you want to build an app in 3 months, you can't spend a lot of time on discussions. You have to move forward all the time and take decisions. And the frameworks that we use are, for instance, Kanban, Scrum, Lean UX, Lean Coffee, etc., etc. And there are very good frameworks to utilize. We don't need to invent the wheel. I think the challenge here is to bring in somebody who has the knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge in-house, bring in those agile coaches who can teach you and really make you use the frameworks. If we look at these 5 capabilities, we want to do the right things, and we want to do them in the right way. We don't want to do the wrong things, and we don't want to do things in the wrong way. Here, we decide how we do it in the right way. But this one decides that we do the right thing. It doesn't matter what good technology we use if nobody's going to use the application. So these 5 capabilities, I think, are key to success. If we look at the next slide, and this is something which is typically for Tetra Pak, and maybe also in cases decide upon the projects. We are going to do these projects. It can be very small projects, can be medium-sized projects, can be large projects, and we look what capabilities, what competencies do we need, and we populate the projects. So we allocate people. When we build high-performing, full-stack teams, is the other way around, because then we give work to the teams. So it's work to the people. And this is, to many companies, I think, an enormous change. And it turns everything upside down, how we allocate people and how we do resource management. So this is a big learning we have done at Tetra Pak. How do we create those high-performing teams? What should they be capable of doing, and what work do we give to them? And now, fragment our people, or how we give them many, many different tasks. And this is not only the people, this is only all the initiatives we are doing. A person who is good at something, and we need that something in 20% in one project, 30% in an, and then we go down to 10%, 5%, 2%. So people have to change project and task, and that takes time, and it fragments the work, and it doesn't move the project ahead with a good pace. And I had one of these presentations, and I said, and what is the solution to that? And there was a smart guy. He said, Helen, there is a small gap there. And I said, no. This is not the solution. The solution is to have people fully allocated in those high performing teams and give them work, because the speed will be a pace you can't imagine. So it's also extremely important to understand how you move forward. To give you a small picture of how we are organized, the blueprint of our organization, because they ask me, how does your organization look like, Helen? And we have Scrum teams. In my case, we have 7 Scrum teams, so this is just an example, but we have full stack Scrum teams. We have the Agile coach and the Scrum master. We have the developers, we have the test lead, we have the back end, depending on what system we are going to integrate to, UI designer. And they have, of course, the product owner who decides what to be developed. This is a full stack team that can do 80% plus of the work. We also have a shared support team. These are people who are maybe not, when you don't need somebody 100% in the teams, but it can be shared by other by all of the teams. You can have them in the shared support team, and that's typically myself as a service delivery manager. I have my service lead, a very experienced person who knows a lot about development, and also the life after the first fancy phase when we do the development, where we go into more of a continuous improvement for the applications. I have somebody who plans new projects, etc., etc. And if you look at, if we take the next slide, you can see we have the UX and the UI designer, one in each team, and we also have a design sprint UX facilitator and a design sprint facilitator. People are full-time allocated to run design sprint and innovation studio, so they are becoming experts, like Andrea, who is here today, is full-time running design sprint and is really is to distribute this knowledge to the teams, because we have this smart man or woman here and we have the UX designer here. So all our teams are able on a daily basis to continue to use Lean UX as a framework to further develop the applications. And I think this is that the teams are able to do it themselves, and you don't need to go to the experts every day. So this is how we have organized us. And if we look how we do the projects, this is actually a 3-step process, because you say, okay, I'm going to change from waterfall to agile. Okay, I'm going to run Scrum. I need a backlog. It's not easy to decide what should be included in the backlog, is it? So what we do is, number 1, we run a design sprint, and we often do a 2-week follow-up iteration sprint, where we use more Lean UX as a framework. After that design sprint and the 2 weeks, more of a technical feasibility study, and we also go into details and we mock up all the different screens that we think we need. We have a good picture. This is the application we're going to build, and we have also validated with our end users. The next step is that the product owner needs to decide, what do I need after 3 months? What is the MVP? And this is extremely difficult. Normally we need to coach the product owners, because they want to have the full-blown beautiful application done at once, don't they? So what is the least you can do in 3 months to develop an MVP? When we have decided upon the MVP, we can also do the user story mapping. When we have done that, we can create the backlog and we can start the sprint work. Time-wise, design sprint is 1 week, technical feasibility sprint 2 weeks, and maybe some more, couple of other weeks. We need to take a formal decision. Yes, we're going to move ahead with this product, and we're going to start the development work. But theoretically, we can do this in 3 weeks' time. This takes 2 days normally, and this takes another 2 days. But here we have the ideal project where everything moves on, like a fast-going train. But this is the process to go from design sprint to development. I talked once with the company, and he said, the guy said, this is amazing, Helen. I said, but it took us 1 year to realize that this is the process. And he said, but Helen, many companies never ever understand how to do this. And then I realized that this is actually complex, difficult, but there is a good way how to do it. Okay, if we take the next slide, design sprint. So now we're going to focus on the extremely interesting subject of a design sprint. So roughly 1.5 years ago, we realized, okay, Google Ventures sprint. What is a design sprint? So a design sprint is a 5-day framework. It will answer critical business question, and you will do it through rapid prototyping and user testing. In the framework, you have all the exercises. On this is to map the challenge. On the Tuesday, you sketch on different solutions. On the Wednesday, you decide this is the concept I'm going to try the typing, and on the Friday, you test. Yep. So if we do several design sprints the same very week, you mean, or you mean in? Yeah, it's a very good question. So the first one is, do we do several design sprints? Depending on the complexity of the product and the business challenge, it may require several design sprints to understand what to achieve. It can be extremely complex challenge, and it can also be that we have something which is totally new for the company. So maybe the first time is just to realize, is this something our customers even want to buy? Yes or no? And after the 1 week, we realize, okay, they want to do A, B, but they don't want to do C, D. And based upon that, you move further and you map further. So that's the one. And then the second question was, yeah, it's if the Scrum team is present, it depends. The earlier we are in the process, the likelihood that the Scrum team is present is lower, because we don't know even if we're going to do it. So why waste time with the full development team during 1 week? If we know that we are going to do this, then we try to involve them as early as possible, and also identify which team is going to do it. So ideally, yes, they are part of the design sprint, but they will of course run the iteration sprint that we run afterwards. Yeah. So it depends on the case. And the design sprint was invented by this guy, Jake Knapp. And he's been working with startups for, I think, 10 plus years. And he always tries, he's like a process geek, and he always tries working. And Google Ventures are investing a lot of money in new startups, and they needed a very good process to understand, is this a company that we want to move ahead with? Is this a company we want to spend a lot of money on? And to be able to do that, he invented the process, the framework, Google Design Sprint. And the Google Design Sprint, I think it's the greatest hits. So it's business strategy, it's design thinking, it's prototyping, and it's user validation. And to me, this with user validation was a big change, because I was used to work with corporate central reference team, and they were, like the voice of the end user. So there was also always a translation to be done from the true end users to the central people to us in the IT team. And how much got lost in this chain? Quite a lot. So the product we developed, when it reached end users, they say this is not what we need. And I think this is one of the that makes this successful, is the end centricity. So we have end users during the design sprint and throughout when we run Scrum with Lean UX, end users presence every day. to validate that we are doing the right thing. You can buy the book. I did bring my book today. You can order it, and this is, you know, like a cooking book. It tells you exactly how to run a design sprint, how to run the different exercises, how long time they should take, everything you need to do it, you can read in the book. And that was actually how we started 1.5 years ago. We bought the book and we started to use the framework. We collaborate quite a lot with a company called AJ and Smart from Berlin. And they work very, very close with Jake Knapp, and they have developed the concept further. So they have a 4-day version 2 of the sprint. We still run the 5-day sprint because we often fly in people from all over the world to run the workshop. And the extra day the team gets to get together is worth so much more than just, you know, doing one day less. Yeah.
Have you tried to do the Agent Smart version?
We do the exercises from the version 2, but we run them during 5 days. So we do a combination of version 1 and version 2. Yeah. And AJ and Smart, they also have, which is a smaller version, a 1 to 2 hour version, you could say, of a design sprint. A very, very good exercise they teach. And if you Google and you look on YouTube, you will find a lot of material how to exactly run a lightning decision jam. AJ and Smart, they run design sprints. You can order design sprint from them, but they also have another important business app companies, so they learn how to facilitate the design sprints. So you can go participate in a 2-day boot camp at AJ and Smart, and they will teach you how to facilitate design sprints. We work quite closely with several companies, like I said, here in Malmö, and the interest is really, really growing. And I know there are several of the local partners that send people to AJ and Smart to the boot camps to learn more. And why should we run a design sprint? I have 3 slides, and the first one says it's a really fast way to understand, to get an indication, is this product worth developing? Do we even need this feature? And also your value proposition, is it valid? Does it hold? Because you do the testing on the Friday on 5 testers. So we have been running design sprint for new products for Tetra Pak, where we have had a week, and we have tested the prototype product on the Friday on 5 other customers. And really, really powerful, because it gives us an indication, should Tetra Pak even invest in this product? And the customers we have had in the room, they have been extremely impressed by the framework and this way of investigating. Yes? Yeah. We don't have any testers involved in day 5, and I will come back to this later on in the presentation, how we use work with end users. Yeah. The second reason why we should use a design sprint is the team, because the team will have, you know, the same foundation about the product, so they will have clearly defined goals and deliverables. They will gain key learnings quickly, and they will have the same learnings, so they get the same information, they have the same foundation to move forward with. Aligns your team under a shared vision. We use design sprint for different purposes, and one different purpose is to kickstart a project. If we're going to invest large sum of money, and we kickstart projects even if they are running waterfall. It doesn't need to be agile projects. People ask us, can you do a kickstart of the project? Can we run a design sprint as a start to make sure that we start in the right way? So that's also a way you can use design sprints to kickstart the project. The third reason why a design sprint is that the process, it sparks innovation, because there are so many new ideas coming up the week. It encourages user-centric thinking. So what do the customers need? What do our end users need? What does that person out in the field, service engineer, need when he or she stands there in front of the customer and needs to do something a machine has broken down? Extremely end user centric, and it's also the pace, how you take decisions throughout the weeks, how you move forward. It gets you to product launches much faster, and you can do it several times throughout the process of implementing new products. Next slide. When do we run a design sprint? Of course, there are occasions when we should not run a design sprint. And we normally say, if the challenge is so complex, so two smart people, they cannot sit down and solve it on their own, then you have a challenge which is complex enough to deserve a design sprint. I think this is just the easiest answer I have, because I get this question many times. If two smart people can sit down and solve it, you don't need a design sprint. Next slide. Who participates in a design sprint? So we are always two people who facilitate. So it's the you have a UX UI designer or a product designer who co-facilitates. So you need two people to facilitate, and then we set up cross-functional teams, 5 to 7 people, and this is always a challenge because I always want to bring in loads of people. So they don't want to have one from each department or each function, they want to have 2 or 3, and we said you have to nail it down to 7 people. It's always difficult, but we have always managed. And why do we say you can only be 7 people? Because everything is time boxed. So the more people you have participating in the design sprint, the longer time each exercise will take. So if you are more than 7 people, you simply won't make it time enough to run the exercises. So that's the simple truth. So 5 to 7 people is functional team. So people from different business functions, business experts, and then not to forget the end users. 1 to 3 end users in the room, because what they bring in is the real life experience to the team. So we don't sit there and we come up with something which doesn't match what's happening in reality. So like I always say, so we have somebody who can kill those obvious stupid ideas straight away, so we don't work on those ones. And this is a big change, and yeah.
Yeah, sorry. In my experience, one of the things that could really sort of kill the design sprint or not make it as good as possible is actually finding the people or the right people. But you seem to have the opposite. Like people want to participate.
Yeah.
How come?
I think, well, we are a lot. I mean, we are 25,000 people at Tetra Pak. So normally, when we do major changes, there is a lot of people involved. And how do we pick those 7 people? And people are also very curious. They want to have participating in one design sprint because the word is spreading. So everybody wants to have the experience of having been through a design sprint. So no, we have never had the challenge of finding people. It's more identifying which business function do you need a participant from to find those right 7 people. Yes? Yeah, so the question was if we have run a design sprint for consumers. Yes, we have one. No, the answer is no. Actually, no, we haven't. We have built one app for consumers, but that work started before we created the department for app development. So that was done in a different manner. Yeah. Yeah. How many end users can participate? We have the 7. So the more end users we have, the less business experts we can do. So normally it is like 2 of these and 5. Monday there is an exercise called Ask the Expert. So those people who cannot participate as business experts or end users in the sprint, we interview them on the Monday to get insights and information from them. And then also on the Friday when we do the testing, 5 people, we add another 5 end users, which are not the same one as the one participating in the sprint. So those are additionally 5 end users. Yeah.
Question about cross-functional teams. So, I mean, is it developer or is it like different roles in your organization, or what do you mean with cross-functional team?
Yeah. So what is the cross-functional team? So if we are gonna develop, or we have a challenge where we are gonna look at, for instance, something we are going to use with our service engineers who are out in the field, then we normally have 2 service from 2 different markets in the room. The business experts is if let's say it's something around quality, then we have somebody who knows a lot about quality. We have somebody who knows a lot about maintenance because they do maintenance work, and we may have somebody who has a financial background because maybe that is of interest. We might have a sales guy because it might be something related to sales. Are you with me? Yeah. And normally when we run a design sprint, it's not a technical project we are looking into, it's a business problem. So we don't have any techie people in the room. And that's also something people ask me, why don't you have techie people? What if you come up with a solution that costs 100 million euros? And I said, yes, that's the risk we take. That's the solution we come up with and people love, costs more money than we are willing to spend. But if I bring in the technical people in the room during that, they will only start to think about how difficult it is to build. How am I going to build it? And we will stop focus on what we need and start to think about how we're going to do it. And it's too early. Again, we want to do the right things and we do want to do it in the right way. So first decide what we want to do, and then we decide what are we going to do and how we're going to do it. Yeah.
So how do you clear the schedule for all the people? Because I mean, people are busy, they have meetings and all that. They have 1 week.
Yes, how do we manage people to leave everything they have for 1 week? And yes, it is a challenge because people are busy. Yes, it is a challenge. Every time it is a challenge.
So how do you do it?
Yes, we use them. Here it's as always when we run a change, top management support is key, and the support vice president in this. Okay, thank you. You need always when you do a change like this, you need top management support, and our vice president has been extremely supportive in this. I know once when we decided, okay, we're going to run a 1-week workshop using Lean UX, so it was not a design sprint, and we said, okay, let's not fly in the end user this time, let's have them remotely on phone. And he came in personally in the office and said, Helen, why did you not fly in those 2 end users? We had very good reasons which he accepted, but top management support is always important in these situations. And if we are going to spend so much money on running a project during 1 year with maybe 8 IT people and a business team of 2-3 people, why can't people spend 1 week to understand if we're even going to do it? But it's always a challenge, so it's a very good question. How do we manage to fly in people? How often do we run design sprint? As facilitators, we do it not more often than every 3rd week because it's very exhausting. So to make sure that we survive, me and Andrea. We cannot do it more often than every third week, but we're also bringing our local partners in Malmö, which are supporting us in running design sprints. We are going to run our first design sprint with AJ and Smart in January. So we scale up through our partners.
Do you run those design sprints for the projects or just for decision making within maybe small feature or something like that?
Again, is the challenge not more complex than two people can sit down and solve it? We don't run a design sprint. And, and in our case, if you remember the blueprint, so in our full stack teams, we have a UX UI designer who is capable of continuing the good work throughout the development project. So they are able to continuously improve the project. So this is more, I would say, when we are in the beginning of a new project, or if we're going to bring in a very, very large epic in an ongoing project, then maybe we say, let's run a design sprint during this week, not to get stuck. Yeah.
What is the ratio between employees and consultants in your
In 50% employees and 50% consultants. Yeah.
And I'm always wondering if you talk about projects. So I mean, we have this constraints with project. I mean, there's an start and end, of course. So when are you ending your project?
Yeah, and this is also a good question, when do we end a project, because I think this is a mindset change, because we are developing a new product, and the product life cycle, it continues and continues and continues. So I think we have to stop, think about this is the project, then there is some kind of handover, and somebody else will do the service. So today, when we have run an app development project today, the product stays within that Scrum team. And that will, of course, we will come to a point in time when they have done so many applications, so they have changed profile of the team from being a team that develops new products to a team that supports products. Are you with me in my thinking? And I also think if we want to talk about agile frameworks, I think Scrum is very good here, and then maybe we move on to Kanban. Yeah.
I was just wondering
Yeah.
how it works in projects because it has to be continuous delivery.
Yes, yes. But this is a mindset change for everybody, that we don't talk about anymore, we talk about products. Yeah.
I guess it's your organization. You run projects usually. So I guess you have a project organization in general.
In general, yes, but we don't. In this department, we don't, because we have the Scrum teams. But in many other departments, we still have the people to work scenario. Yeah. That's a big change. Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned that you had 8 completed apps.
Yeah.
How many was closed after 1 week sessions?
How many were?
Closed, terminated.
How do you mean by term?
When you ran the process in 1 week,
Yeah.
out of that week, how many was not, moved on or closed out?
How many ideas have we killed? Maybe that's the question. Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. How many ideas have we killed? So far, one. Yep. So we have run one design sprint where the intention from the one who ordered was absolutely obsessed by the thinking that I need an app. And I told the person, do you really need an app? Isn't there other things you need to do? No, no, no. A mobile app will solve everything for me. And we were very, very careful, me and Andrea, when we planned that design sprint, to have the right end users in the room. And on the Friday, the testers and the 2 end users in the room, they all said, we do not need an app, not now. So that design sprint saved a lot of money to Tetra Pak, I can tell you. Yes. Yes, it has happened. Yes, of course, yes. Dream on. You can dream in the design sprints, can't you? Yes, yes. Yeah.
Are all your team members physically present here, or their could be remotely available as well?
Yeah, all our teams are members are co-located. Either we have 4 teams in Lund and we have 3 teams in India, and they are all co-located. The teams in India, they do have, not all of them have the product owner sitting with them, so they are in that extent distributed. Yeah. And that's also a big change if you want to drive innovation, new cutting edge technology, and you want to be in the forefront, you need people to sit together if you want to have pace and quality. Yeah. Let's see, more slides. So people who are going to be participating in a design sprint, I'm not creative. I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not an innovative person. How can I contribute? And here we have to lean back on the 5 key principles of a design sprint. And the first one is we don't rely upon creativity. The process will guide you. As long as you can draw triangles, circles, and squares, it's good enough. Getting started is more important. We do and we learn. We don't have to take the decisions we take throughout the design sprint. They don't have to be 100% right, because we will know on the Friday why they were wrong, and we learn from that. We work together alone. So actually, and this is a very creative way of idea generation, a lot of the time it's silent in the room, because we sit and we work alone. We present to each other and we decide what is the next step forward. So we work together alone. And important to that is also that some people are expert. It's easier for them to talk. Other ones are more, silent. And the process will help those silent people to talk, and it also helps those talkative people to shut up, to be frank. So the process helps everybody to contribute equally. The fourth one, tangible beats discussions. I don't know how it is at your companies, but we can talk for ages and discuss. And then let's have another meeting in 1 week for 1 hour where we continue the discussions. We never ever come to a decision. So my experience is that 1 week replaces 6 endless discussions. And I'm not exaggerating, sometimes 1.5 years. We time box everything. So there is this clock ringing. I give you 3 minutes, the clock is ringing. All exercises are time boxed, and that allows us to move forward very quickly. How do you get started? If you think, okay, this is a good idea, I want to run a design sprint, how do I move forward? Remember, getting started is more important than being right. So how do I get started? What you do is, first, decide upon a challenge. Do I have a complex which is more complex than me and another equally smart person as me, sitting down, solving it together? Yes, we do have that challenge. Mobilize 2 people who can facilitate. If you don't have somebody internally, go outside. We are all from the south part of Sweden. Several good companies in the Malmö area who can run design sprints for you. Bring in those 2 people, gather the participants, run a sprint, learn. How difficult does it need to be? Not more than this. And I mean, what do? You spend 1 week of your life. Worst thing is that you have wasted this week, and I can promise you we have not a single minute in our design sprints. And what we do is to shortcut this process. We have an idea, we want to build the product, we launch it, and we learn. No, we don't. in the design sprint, we shortcut the loop because this is where the big investment starts and the time starts, the clock starts to tick. So by shortcutting this, we learn so much in 1 week. How many, just out of curiosity, how many now after what I've said think, okay, I want to do a design sprint? How many is interested? Good, good. So lots of hands waving. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, how do we split the challenge? And we must be realistic. We talk about 1 week of work. We can't solve everything in 1 week. We have to decide upon a challenge, and we have to narrow it down to one concept that we can test on the Friday. So no, we will not solve everything, and that's why we run the iteration sprint later on. Or if it's so big and so complex, you may need to run different design sprint and slice the elephant. And maybe the first design sprint is to understand how to slice the elephant. Yeah. Okay, so you wonder what's the difference between a design sprint and user stories? I don't think there is a conflict the way you describe how to do user stories and design sprint. But to me, user stories is much more detailed. To me, the design sprint is more on the product level. What is the vision? What I want to achieve in 2 years' time? I want to be able to do something. How might I do that? I want to sell this new fancy product to my customers. How do I know that they are even interested in buying it? I need to have some kind of prototype describing the product so I can show them. I can simply ask them, are you interested or not? User stories, I think to me, when you start to do user story mapping, you have kind of already understood that I'm going to do this, and how do I slice it in user stories? Yeah. Shall we do the last slide, and then we break for the pizza, and because we have a Q&A question, is that okay? Yeah, yeah. Because I only have one slide left. And your ambition, I think, is important. Think big, have a vision, have a goal, great ambitions. Start small. What baby steps do I need to take, and start to learn? I have a very, very good story. We did a competence sharing with a big enterprise from Gothenburg, and they came to us in Lund, and they had been running 3 workshops, 2 days each, where they had picked different exercises from design sprint, and they said, oh, this was so small, and oh, you have done all these fancy design sprint and all those beautiful apps. And I said, but imagine how our discussion is now based upon those 3 workshops you have done, the maturity of our discussion, what you have learned, and how you understand what we are trying to convey. And they said, yes, you are right. So again, think big, start small, and learn fast. Thank you so much. The pizza man, where is he? They're on the way. So we can do a few more questions, can we? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I missed that with the food coming in. How we do? Yeah. I mean, there is one major decision to take. If we talk about the software, sometimes we do low fidelity, we do high fidelity. Sometimes we want to figure out what do we need, and we don't know if we're going to buy the package. We are going to further develop one of our 6 existing solutions, or we're going to build something. In that case, we build a low fidelity prototype because we don't want to start expectations, especially from top management. If we build this very beautiful prototype in InVision, and then we are going to do it in that system, no, it won't fly. But if we do something in black and white, then they focus on, okay, this is what we need, and we're going to build it there. And sometimes we really, really, really want to shine, and we want to really show something that really, wow, this is what I want to do. Then we maybe bring in 2 UX designers, and they do a prototype that really shines. We do a lot of paper prototyping. So during, not first day, but it's only paper prototyping. Yeah, it depends, because when we use Lean UX as a framework, then we do a paper prototype first. We test it because we don't want the UX designer to invest time in Sketch or InVision or any other tool and put a lot of effort into something that they don't need. So then we do it in paper prototyping. We show it, the mock-up to them, and they say, okay, yeah, but you can do it quite clearly anyway. And then when we have realized this is what we want to do, then the UX designer does a nice prototype in InVision, and then we give it to the developers. So we use a lot of paper prototyping, especially in the Scrum teams, in the daily work. Yeah. Good question. More questions? Yes? Prioritize what projects to do a design sprint for? Yes. I mean, today it's a little bit first come, first served. And then when we are overloading, Andrea, then we buy it. Then we ask a partner to run the design sprint. So so we are kind of in the crowded car. No, we're not, but we bring in partners if needed. Yep. Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenge, and which stakeholders or shareholders has been the most hard to convey or to persuade to participate?
I think the biggest challenge is always to find the right people. Yeah, because people is our asset, and I was lucky because I have so many good people around me. Because I can't know I don't know anything, everything. I learn from others, and we have good consultants bringing in new ideas, new technologies, and then we who are the old Tetra Pak people, we know the machinery, we know what hurdles we have to run the change. So it's a combination. Yeah. But I think I always say, like, Ingmar Stenmark, the more I practice, the more luck I have. And the more I have all these good people around me, the better work we do. Yeah. So finding the right people.
How has this been accepted by the organization? I mean, has there been any challenges in Tetra Pak, or has everyone just
Embraced it. Yes. No, again, we have a fantastic vice president who's been really, really supportive, and now we go see that what we make, they are amazed, and yeah, and it's also, we are all swamped with our daily work, and then we don't want to do this fantastic change. Okay, I need to sit down, I need to gather people, or I'm going to need to plan for that workshop, and now they can call us. you know, and they know we're going to use a world-class framework, and they know that it will be professionally handled throughout that week. The investment of bringing in us is so small compared to what we achieve during the week. Mm. And sometimes it's also good to have facilitators who are not biased. We don't care if they think A, B, or C are right. We make sure that they make their decisions in a good way during the week. They take the decisions, they sketch on the solutions, we provide them with the facilitation.
Is this also affecting other meetings in Is this way of working together alone
It's
spreading in other meetings?
yes, but it takes time, and I think run it. We have comments like, we had one uh, workshop for 12 days where we used 1,700 post-it notes ish, and one comment is, so what are you doing? You're just fooling around with post-it notes. We do the real work. I mean, we are developing complex digital products, and we do it by using post-its. There is, why, but it's, yeah. When I did the budget for 2019, I had one saying stationery 5,000 euro, and my manager asked, "What's that?" And I said, "Post-it." And it was like, okay, no more questions. I don't know how many post-its we need to buy, or those nice pens or magic papers. Yeah. So post-it is really effective.
Yeah, so of course you're going to be able to ask her more questions later on. So don't worry, it's not the end of the meeting. So we're going to have a quick pizza break. Since we're so many people, just here behind we have a few boxes. So please, as soon as you have an empty bottle or a can, put it there. I do really appreciate that. So it's self-service. All the pizza is served. We have the 2 heating pizza up here. And enjoy. Have fun. A big hand to Helena.
Tack. Jaha, men så tänkte jag, det har väl du koll på.
Förlåt.
Förlåt. Nej, det gör ingenting. Det är många som säger Helena. Jag är van vid det. Nej, det är det inte. Det är så, det är Stig eller Maria. Can I read the question first? I'm trying to think.
So the question is, does all participants are involved for whole design sprint?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so the question is, does all participants are participants, they are there from Monday to Friday. If there are people who they can't make it a full week, then we use them on the Monday when we have the Ask the Expert. Sorry, yeah. For those who can't participate the whole week, we use them in the Monday session for Ask the Experts. And then also if we have an end user which we think is very interesting to us, we use that one as a tester on the Friday.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.